talk into these, talk right into them.
Yep. Right.
Don't go there, it doesn't work. Welcome to the Autosportradio.com 2017 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are live from McGilvery Speedway, 30th and High School in the beautiful town of Speedway, Indiana. Remember, if you're coming into town for the next event at the Speedway, which is the Red Bull Air Racing, make sure you stop by McGilvery's. It's just a couple miles west of the Speedway. Come on by. They got great food, great service, best looking servers in the business, and their adult beverages are ice cold. I want to mention, in case you hadn't heard it, those of you who have been in this series for many years, that Dave Renninger passed away. He's a former spotter for a number of teams, and he was just a heck of a guy. He loved racing, loved being involved. I never heard him say anything bad about anything. He liked talking to people. He'd always had a big smile for you and always glad to say hello. We're going to miss him. He's going to be missed in the paddock, I can assure you. And I have been remiss of late to thank my associate back here, Ted Howlett, who's helped me with the IF stuff, because what I know about it, you could stick in your ear and not even know it was there. And he's helping me out. And also to Brett with Speedway Cable, the cable channel. It's covers us and is now getting us around the state. We appreciate that, but this 2 days from now, I'm supposedly going to get myself repaired so I don't walk around like the hunchback of Notre Dame. And in my absence, if I can't make it here next week, Ted will set up, and I have a standby set to go if need be. How many watched the Brickyard?
I lost me.
How many were at the Brickyard? That's all that was there. Okay. How many liked the winner? He was here twice when he ran open wheel cars. He was a guest twice. I want to remind you that this coming weekend, the Honda Indy 200 from Mid-Ohio Sports Car course will be televised. If you want to watch the goings-on prior to the race, of course, you can go to racecontrol.indycar.com, and the race will be televised. I think it goes on the air at 3 o'clock on Sunday Eastern Time on CNBC, if you can find it. That's where it will be. Tonight's show is presented, as always, by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and the Verizon IndyCar Series. If you have trouble with your computer, which I have almost on a daily basis, the place you need to go is Computer Overdrive at Lafayette and Crawfordsville Road on the northeast corner. See Jack, he can fix anything. And if you want to get into drones, walk to the back half of the shop and see Mark. He can tell you and help you out with that. So give him a call. The number is 317-328-0766. I announced one guest who is a real hero, and he said that he would be here tonight, and by golly, he's here. He is a former race champion. He's been involved in racing for many years. Is probably as good or better a businessman than he was a race driver. Well, he was very good at race driving. And he is now, his first elevation in broadcast industry was last race when he was a pit reporter for NBC Sports Network. He's been in the booth for the last year or two, and now has been put down in the heat and the hard work and running up and down pit lane and interviewing drivers. And he's got a business that we're going to talk about as well. The guy's doing everything. But he is known as the Viking. Please welcome Mr. Anders Krohn.
All right, guys. Good to be back. Don,
What?
you said I'm only allowed on here like once every 2-3 years, and here I am, 4 months after last time?
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've made a mistake. Would you like to leave? You could still.
Actually, that'd be great.
And sitting next to Anders is a gentleman that he and I just met, and we're very close. He raced in England. He came over here and has been involved in motorsports. He is the overall team manager for Team Pelfrey, and they've got enough cars to start their own series, and he oversees all of that. And he's also a co-founder of the Coforce business that Anders is involved in, and some other people will talk about. In fact, a former driver, Charles Crew, is a part of that team. Very interesting, but I want to welcome a gentleman that he and I will be seeing each other a lot upcoming. Please welcome Johnny Baker.
Thanks, Don. Good evening.
Now, I got to start off with your cohort, Anders. I'm sorry to put you second, But I heard this.
He's a way better talker than me anyway, so
Oh, no.
I'll lean back. I might order a beer, though. So.
That's all right. But you talked a lot, got a lot of people to join you in the business you're in, so you talk pretty well yourself. I heard this, and I've got to get an explanation. First off, I don't understand it, but it didn't make any sense to me, and I'm not the brightest guy in town, but I hear that the reverse gear is the preferred gear in Thruxton. What does that mean?
That's a long story. Yeah, if you go to YouTube, there is apparently evidence of me jump starting in a Formula Ford race at Thruxton in 2005.
Well,
and putting it in reverse gear, and the commentator absolutely destroys me. But it's actually, so I think there's been 2 Norwegian open wheel drivers in the history of motorsport, and I've been teammates to both of them. The other one's sitting next to me right now. So this other Norwegian open wheel race driver, I mean, it was the biggest jump start ever, and the fact that I'm a YouTube sensation because of Tor Christian Ebersvik. But yeah, no, it's worth a watch. YouTube, massive Formula Ford jump start, and you'll all have a good laugh.
I mean, everybody was going one way, but you thought you'd take a shortcut.
Again, I'll clarify. My teammate did it, but no, it's entertaining.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. Anders, you showed, obviously, when you came here and raced and got in what is now the Mazda Road to Indy program, that you know how to drive a race car. You came here with championships. You weren't just some guy like me that couldn't get out of the way if I had to. Why did you not get a chance to get a ride in IndyCar? Was that your goal? Were you after one and it just didn't work out?
Well, that's a loaded question. I got a lot of people to blame. No, no. I mean, the story begins when I come over here to the U.S. I'm teammates with this Johnny Baker guy.
Backwards, yeah, okay.
Yeah. So we're on the front row together at our very first race, and I thought it's probably a good idea for me to show who's the bigger man here. So I decided.
Who was on the pole?
He was, yeah, he was on pole. And then I decided, hey, what's going to be a really good idea right now is if I give him a little bit of a squeeze on the warm-up lap. And I didn't know, I kind of knew, but I didn't really know that I actually drove him into the grass. And so that started our relationship really well, and really, my first start in the U.S. driving someone into the grass on the warm-up lap. So I guess I'll just blame that, If I'd kept it clean on that one time at Virginia International Raceway in 2008, I probably would have been a multiple IndyCar champion right now.
I don't think there's any doubt about it. You have diversified, I guess is as good a word as any, since you have gotten out of the car. You've been an instructor, and now you formed a company which is growing rather rapidly from what I can see. Explain to me what Coforce does, and with whom do you do it?
Well, again, that comes back to this gentleman sitting next to me.
Well, it was his idea?
Well, here, I'll tell you how the idea came about. Alcohol.
Oh, really? A lot of good ideas come out there.
Yeah, exactly. We talked. We were teammates. He didn't like me. I liked him because he never tried to screw me over, but I screwed him over. So, of course. Anyhow,
that's why my career ended before yours.
But we'd talked about for years how some drivers were intent on destroying their careers before it had even really taken off. So we talked loosely for years on, well, how would we help some drivers out? And then, of course, as you do with all good ideas, we went out drinking one night, and at 3 a.m. in the morning, I burst into his room and I said, I've got it. And then we formed this company now known as Coforce. It used to be called ABK, and originally it was just driver development, driver consulting, how to not mess up your career, basically. Like we did, and then from there it's evolved into kind of more business-to-business solutions, marketing, video production, digital media, and so on forth. So it's been ever evolving and growing, and I think largely because of this guy we are where we're at today, because we've just constantly tried to renew ourselves and come up with new creative ideas, and yeah, very fortunate.
Well, I can understand you're busy on some weekends, so you haven't got time to mess with it. He's a team manager of a team with about 72 cars, I think. They got a boatload of cars, so he's got all kinds of time to devote to developing your business, so it makes sense to me. What's it like working for Dale Pelfrey?
Oh, it's
No, you could say something nice. He's not watching.
Dale is. We're really proud of Koval, Anders, and I being at Team Pelfrey. We're really proud of it, and it's been a big part of what Koval has achieved in the past 3-4 years. And working for Dale is really satisfying, very rewarding. He's passionate about the sport. While the team has to make sense business-wise, he makes sure we have the right infrastructure, the right people, the right resources available to us all the time, which is something that's really important for young drivers who want to come, whether they're moving up the ranks from karting or other open wheel series in the States, or they're coming from Europe, South America, Australia, come from everywhere. They need to come and have the best car possible, the best resources, working with the best people. Thank you. And that's something that we have to be really thankful to Dale for. It looks like you got left out,
Don. My wife doesn't like you, so.
Well, I can understand. I wasn't out drinking with him in the middle of the night, so don't blame me for that.
This is when great ideas happen right here.
I've had Dale on the program, I think, a couple of times back in the early days when the Indy Racing League was formed, and I think he had a lights team for a couple, 3 years, I believe, at the time, and did well. You guys, that team overall has done extremely well. You give Yukos trouble. Now, obviously, they're doing well.
They give us trouble.
Well, that's true. But you got a good competitive team. The thing that I wonder about is you have Pro Mazda teams, 2 of them, if I'm right.
We've got 3 cars in the Pro Mazda Championship.
Yeah, if you guys left, there wouldn't be anybody there. Why are they only running so fewer races, and why are there so few cars?
It's I mean, first thing, yeah, the championship has a really strong history. Anders and I both raced in that series when it was previously known as Star Mazda, and this year it's a tough year for that series in the sense that the series are trying to give a lot of drivers incentives to do it. There's a new car coming next year, and the current car is that was built and designed in 2004, and the feeling is people are very much waiting until the new car comes, and then it will be a little bit more attractive, a little bit more in line with other series around the world, and we're seeing interest for next year. Actually, we've already got a lot of interest in next year, more so than we did this time last year for the 2017 season. So I think it's a little bit of a refresh that the series needs in terms of a car. Arguably maybe a little bit late, but no, I think we just got to get through this year and focus on 2018.
Now, you mentioned a number of countries where drivers are coming from. I noticed one missing. Now, I know you guys are from Europe, but there are Americans that drive race cars. Where the hell are they? Are they not interested in the UFS 2000 and the Pro Mazda series?
If you look at this weekend at Mid-Ohio, Team Pelfrey is going to have 3 American drivers.
3 out of 9. That's good.
And that is, if you look at especially Dale's history in the sport, he's really passionate, not just about young talent, but young American talent. And having young American drivers in our team, I'm British, but I would always, I'd love to see young American drivers, as many as possible, on the road to Indy, because that's what this sport's about. We put young Americans in the IndyCar series, in the Indianapolis 500. That's what people want to see, and want American talent. I firmly believe the young American talent is the strongest in the world, and as long as it's fostered correctly and scouted correctly, there's no reason why there can't be young Americans winning Indy 500, IndyCar championships, Formula One.
I think if I can just interject there, I think that the proof's in the pudding. You look at Neil Verhagen, who's this 15-year-old kid who did F1600 last year. Red Bull picked him up, and he's already getting podiums in the European Formula Renault Championship with Red Bull as backing. So I think the U.S. talent is probably stronger than it's ever been in breadth, as it were. And I think, yeah, the road to Indy may not be that massive in numbers, but when you look at quality, I mean, look at a guy like Oliver Askew, who's just come in and just stomped the field in USF 2000. You have Kalen Frederick in USF 2000, who's 14 years old and who's got like 6 podiums already. And I mean, so I think it's great, and I'm just hoping that, you know, by the time they get high up enough on the ladder, that, you know, the general fans will wrap their hands around them and really want to push them and follow them.
I like bringing the drivers, the young drivers from the Pro Mazda series, so that people recognize as they move up, and when they get to the lights and into IndyCar, they already know who they are. And I've brought in, he's not from America, from Australia, Anthony Martin. Now there's a character, and people love the guy. I mean, he comes in here and he can't walk out the door for an hour and a half sitting talking to people, and I think it's important that the fans get to meet who the up-and-comers are and get to follow them so they know where they are.
And the foreign drivers, just if I may add, the foreign drivers that come, you know, we've got Brazilians, Russians on our team this year, and it's interesting to watch they know about American motorsport, obviously, hence why they chose to race here. But it's always interesting watching their first year in the States, and May rolls around and they come race at the Speedway, and then they attend the Indy 500, and they always you can almost see them fall in love with the sport, and that's almost as rewarding as working with them. And you know, and 9 times out of 10, I would say once they've had a taste of racing in America, that's it. This is where they want to be.
You're a broadcaster. How in the world did you get into broadcasting? I mean, I tuned in. Was it the lights? I think. What the heck's he doing there? How did you get in the booth? Why did they let you in?
I asked the same question.
So when did you start? I mean, did you aim for that? Is that something you wanted to do, or did they invite you because they figured out you might know more about the racing than they did?
Honestly, I'm as surprised as you are. I mean, I started off with just an IndyCar radio broadcast in 2013 in Baltimore, and then they asked me to do the Indy Lights TV broadcast the following year. Then the following year, they asked me to do the Red Bull GRC, and now this year, obviously, part-time doing the pit reporting for IndyCar. So it's so different, but I love it because similar to racing, it teaches you preparation. It teaches you how to pace yourself. It teaches you how to work with your team, get the most out of each other, try to take in all the good energy, push out the bad energy. It's a lot of the same stuff, but it whole new thing, and then trying to have an American accent, not sound like some Yahoo from Norway as well, you know. So it's enjoyable, man. I'm loving it.
Have you had a flub since you became a pit reporter?
A flub?
Yeah.
I had a big one.
Oh, really? I heard something about one.
Yeah. So basically, is there any IndyCar photographers in here?
No.
No. Okay, I'd already be dead. Basically, as it turns out, in Victory Lane, I was lucky enough to go interview Joseph Newgarden after he won in Toronto. Basically, you're not supposed to step directly up to the driver when he gets up out of the car to talk to him and interview him. You're supposed to give him, call it 10, 15, 20 seconds to enjoy and not get in the way of every possible IndyCar photographer and media. So I, of course, did that. Chris Jones pulled me away and shouted some maybe not so nice things at the time. And that's saying a lot because he's a super nice guy. And so then after that, I didn't really realize kind of the magnitude of what I'd done until I started getting, you know, some maybe not so nice messages. Anyway, then I decided, okay, after the race, I'm going to have to go to the media center and personally go up to every photographer, videographer, media, whatever it is. I walk up to them and I apologized in person. They all took quite well to that, and all of them started showing me photos of my back. Which I could trim a little bit, you know. I could really work on, you know. But that's not the shot they were looking for, to my surprise. And so as a result of that, I'll probably never do Victory Lane again. But no, a learning experience. The producers didn't kill me. The photographers didn't kill me, though they probably wanted to.
And nobody told you ahead of time. Wait 45 seconds, and then
things happen very quickly. They told me to not go, then go, and then I went. So
Yeah, I heard about it, and the gentleman, Chris, was who I heard it from, and he was laughing about it and said, it's no big deal. He made a mistake. He apologized. Everything's fine. But we had quite a cackle over that one. But what's it like now to get out of a car? And you've got a lot of experience in a car, and you bring a lot, which, when I listen to Davey Hamilton, he can see things that are happening, and he can tell you what's going on and understand how it happened. Or if you listen to Paul Tracy and somebody does something, you say, well, I used to do that. What's the big deal? It's racing. So that when you get in there, can you see in your mind what's happening? And when you interview a driver, you know where he's been, what's happened, and you can talk to him and ask him interesting questions.
Yeah, I think the driving side helps a lot, but I know Johnny can speak to this as well. Probably the bigger thing that helps is actually after I stopped driving is the driver coaching that I've done. Because then when you drive, you get told, oh, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, because that's bad or whatever. But when you're a driver coach, you become a better driver yourself because you're constantly analyzing, how could this be done different? Why is this line working? Why is this line with this setup working? So I think that helped me actually more than driving itself, just the continuous analyzing of what's going on. And so that side, I think that's comes fairly easy. The pit strategy and things is something that I'm still learning, because obviously that's something that I've only seen via broadcasts. I've never drove IndyCar, so I'm just kind of learning as I go there. But yeah, it's cool.
I have to say, and I think I've texted you a couple of times, I thought you did a good job. I think you're interesting to listen to, and your commentary and your questions. The thing that irritates me about most people in an interview, they ask them the same mundane question every time. What's it like out there? Well, it's raining, it's a little icy, but come on, you got to be creative, I think.
So should we talk about something not mundane?
Okay.
What do we think of the new IndyCar?
And did anybody anybody get to see it? It tested today. And foolishly, I was out there. I forgot to take this thing off. The cars look good. I don't know what the speed, when I was there, the unofficial speed they were going, the Sam Schmidt Honda car was at 219 plus, somewhere in there. I don't know what they ended up.
I heard they went a bit quicker than that.
Oh, they may have. When I left, I said they hit just under 220. I know they were looking for 226. Did they get there?
I think I heard 224, something like that.
Well, the interesting thing about that, if you remember back when the original car came out, the DW12, when they were at the Speedway, I went out there, and Dan Weldon was driving, and he came on the program that night. But I said, how's the car going? He said, it doesn't go. And I asked the question, when they developed the car, did you guys win? Oh, no, the computer said it's perfect. Weldon said, no, it didn't either. He said, it doesn't go anywhere. They were lucky to get 209. And when Jay was here a couple of weeks ago, he said, we use wind tunnels. There's no technology that's ever driven a car. Yep. And it obviously showed that they took the right choice. And the car really looks neat.
I think it looks beautiful, and I like the simplicity of it. I like that there's less carbon fiber bits and pieces, so that if it does come off, it's less likely to injure someone. I think that there is one rather large drawback to it. And I only say this because I work on the commercial side of IndyCar basically every day, trying to sell it as a property. Essentially 30 to 40% of sellable area on the car has been removed. So it means that you'll have no problem selling a primary. That's still the same and arguably even better. Co-primary, forget about it. Where in years past you've always been able to place a co-primary on the engine cover and maybe on the nose somewhere on one of the winglets, unfortunately that's no longer a sellable area. So I'm hoping everyone gets behind it and sees it as an overall value add, what they've done, and that it's hopefully at some point going to drive the cost down. But from a commercial aspect, I'm slightly worried that some of the funding potential has been removed.
You were going to comment on the broadcasting part.
I was actually going to say, I think the new car, new era kit looks a little bit like the Indy Lights car, which just beefed up and Lights car is an amazing looking race car. When I first saw it, I thought it was the best looking race car in North America. So I think that's from that side of things, that's really positive. And I think it also brings a bit of a closer tie-in to the road to Indy, where you can really see a visual similarity, which for me is really exciting.
One thing I noticed as I was walking toward the pit area, and the cars had just gone out. Smith's car had just gone out. So I just kind of stood and watched. And it came down the main street. I couldn't see it. All they saw, it had a camera on the top, and I saw the camera and a little bit of the engine cover, and that was it. Now, when you get to the pit wall, you see a little bit more, but not a lot, because the engine cover, like you mentioned, is down smaller. But, man, it looks good, and it hauls. And I was listening, particularly going through the corners. They don't lift. They didn't lift a bit, which I thought, okay. So, what they can do to stream it out, because I guess most of the downforce is on the underside, and there's not much adjusting you can do to that. And the wing is almost non-existent, the rear wing. But it looks pretty good, but I can see I noticed that too. Where are you going to put something on the engine cover that somebody can see? You have to get an oddball color, probably. Are you involved in this in selling as well?
Yeah, we obviously still work heavily with Stefan Wilson mainly. Still working on his program, trying to get that secured and put to bed finally. Obviously, it was a bit of a tumultuous month of May for him this year. But I think we're fairly close to kind of putting things together to give him the shot that he actually deserves, yeah.
Well, I understand he left town now. I mean, I've been trying to get him, and I guess he figured I'll make it easy for me to say no, I'll move.
He moved to the glorious state of Colorado, which I told him, why would you want mountains?
Yeah.
It's just useless.
And skiing. And
Yeah, exactly. Why would you? And he's a Brit, so it's not like he's going to ski anyway.
Oh. And it probably doesn't rain much in Colorado, so you won't recognize that either.
Yeah. What's the sun doing out?
Yeah, Steph was obviously Pelfrey has helped Stefan last couple of years quite extensively, and Stefan was amazing this year, helping our young drivers in and around the 500, and really working with Anders and working with Dale to make sure that he's back next year. And I think he's going to be back bigger and better than ever. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, he's a nice young man, and I don't know what it took to have him step back, because he had a ride pretty well put together, but I have a feeling there was something worthwhile and good for him, and he's still a good ambassador for the sport. There isn't any question about it. Good kid. Looking forward to seeing him get in a car. What do you see for going forward for the Mazda Road to Indy program? Do you see any advancement? Have you guys got drivers knocking on your door to run Indy Lights cars?
Yes. It's just, unfortunately, it's not always the question of how fast you are. What's your commercial situation? How much funding do you have? And it's just an unfortunate reality of the sport these days. There's bills to be paid, and the drivers have to contribute towards that. But the answer is, yeah, I think Team Pelfrey has a really quick Indy Lights package. I mean, Juan Pedrahita has done, I think, 3 top 5s this year, shown very strongly. And the answer is yes, there is interest, but it's got to make sporting and business sense.
Does Dale have any marketing people or sales people that are out trying to bring money into the team?
You're looking at them.
Well, you haven't got time. You're a broadcaster. You're out signing autographs.
That's why we have other wonderful associates that are actually pulling the ship, and we're just out having fun all the time,
I see. How did you get Charles Cruz to join you? How did that happen?
That's a story you don't want to know. No, actually, that's a good question. I don't even know. He just kind of, we always talked to each other, and he helped us with some drivers. We helped him with some stuff. He's obviously a lawyer, which we love. So we've used him for that, and then just kind of gradually became a member of Coforce, and yeah, he's just kind of one of the mainstays now for the last few years.
I recall that when he was having trouble getting a ride, that he was going back to school, which I thought was great. I didn't realize he's a lawyer. Do you ever have the occasion to listen to him? You say his lips are moving. He's got to be woofing somebody.
He's a helpful individual. Shall we leave it at that? Yeah.
So he handles all your negotiations and contracts and all that.
And he's actually helped me find some drivers as well, some young drivers. So that's always, I mean, Charles is a pretty resourceful, pretty resourceful guy.
Yeah, his dad, as we were mentioning, if I remember right, because he's been on here a couple times, 3 times maybe.
Are you going to Mid-Ohio, Don?
No, sir.
You are?
No, sir.
Why not?
By the time I left my car and got to the track, the racing weekend would be over. I have to turn around and walk back.
Do you want to ride with me? I promise I follow the speed limits. Never go above. Never cut anyone off.
Sure.
Ever, ever, ever.
I have never ridden in a car with a former race car driver.
I can't convince this guy. You're unconvincible. Is that a name? Is that a word?
Yeah, it is now.
Unconvincible?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Good.
No, I'm going to be.
I think it's inconceivable that you obey all of the regulations.
Well, I would like to go, and have been there many times, but I'm trying to get my walking straightened out, so I will be surgically repaired on Thursday. So I don't think I'll make it. I would like to, and if they tell me I can go, maybe I can.
On a serious note, good luck with that. That's yeah.
I hope it's not luck. I hope the guy's done it more than once.
Do you want to train for a half marathon?
Yeah, I'll start probably Saturday.
Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Right, good.
Okay.
Yeah. Then we can run the half marathon at
There you
Pocono.
go. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, perfect.
Not
Excellent.
It's
a date.
Who are some of the drivers that you're working with and mentoring along now?
We don't necessarily do as much mentoring these days as we used to. We kind of work a little bit more on the corporate side and developing kind of commercial partnerships. So it's a little bit less. CR is actually one of our driver consultants. So he works with a few of our drivers. And but mainly on a day-to-day basis, it's more on that boring kind of office side of things, you know.
Yeah, dragging up money.
Yeah. We obviously, got all the Team Pelfrey drivers, and as you said, all 72 of them. So, that really takes up the majority of our time in terms of working with drivers.
And Dale's retired and living in Florida.
Yeah, he's in Clearwater.
What's wrong with that?
He's not retired.
Oh, is
that
he?
guy stays busy, man. Holy
He's
crap.
got to. He's got to keep this guy out of trouble.
Yeah, no, Dale. He comes to all the races. Unfortunately, he's actually not coming to Mid-Ohio because he's got some commitments with family. But no, he's flat out. He's been in Europe for business meetings, and no, he hasn't slowed down.
Oh, well. All right, so in other words, he's living in Clearwater, so I can't call him and invite him as a guest. He won't make it.
Well, he was in Indy for the month of May, so you missed him then.
Well, I know. But I try to get...
Good job, Don.
Well, since most of the drivers live out of the city, now, when the IRL started, most of the drivers lived here, so it was easy. Now it's very difficult. There's only a couple of them that live here. And they said, I come back again? Can't you find somebody else? So I struggle along. I find, Anders, what you have done and how you have diversified very interesting. It always crossed my mind when listening to you as a driver that there was more to you than just stab and steer it. I mean, you had other things going on in your mind.
Fake it till you make it.
That's it. Well, you talked somebody into something. She married you.
Don't tell her that. Yeah.
Oh, she doesn't know it yet. Okay.
And I think a good point about Anders, and it was pretty eye-opening for me, and it's something I outlined to all the young drivers now, I don't think you had $1 of private money used to contribute towards his racing career. He put everything, he put deals together himself, whether it was B2B and it was networking, it was very impressive, and that was pretty eye-opening to me, and that's something with those same lessons that we have to encourage young drivers about now. It's not just about getting in the car and driving, and it's about educating them, because ultimately nobody cares about their career more than they do. So if they understand and can learn how to develop their career off the track, nobody's going to have their best interests at heart like they do. So I think that's a big lesson that I learned from looking at Anders when he came over, and that's something that we try to empower these young drivers. It's a modern day reality, and they need to be good at it.
when talking to you and listening to how you operate, that's where I said I thought, your mind was working. You were figuring out how to take care of yourself so you could do your thing and not have somebody behind you saying, here's what you're going to do because I'm paying you. You put the program together.
It's just desperation, right? You just seriously, you just do whatever will make you not fail, right? And so then you'll exhaust any and all options. So, yeah.
I used to speak to the young drivers, particularly in USAC, that wanted to come to IndyCar. I said, you've got to sell yourself. You have to brand yourself. You have to be, they know my record. No, they don't either. There's so many sports now, they don't know. You've got to tell them who you are and what you are and so forth. Have you guys read Ken Unger's book?
I have, actually, yeah.
Now, he's got the thing. You haven't read it?
I haven't, no.
Give him your copy if you haven't torn the pages out and
It was given to me at Autobahn Country Club in 2010 during a Pro Mazda race weekend. Sad that I remember that, but I do.
And his program, and it works. It's worked in everything except racing, strange enough. The NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, these young guys coming up, get with them. That's how they brand themselves. He said, you've got it when somebody hears Circle, we know who that is. Or we hear the Viking, we know who that is. That's what you got to do today, I think. But you guys know
I'm the reverser.
The reverser.
We back to that again? Well, listen, please tell Dale I said hello. I haven't seen him in quite a few years.
I'll pass on my regards, absolutely.
Please do that. Pass on mine. You can pass yours on your own. And I thank you for joining us. And, of course, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And don't forget, this weekend on CNBC at 3 o'clock, NBC Sports Network is relegated to CNBC, but you will hear this gentleman walking up and down and talking to the drivers, and hopefully you won't hear anybody yelling, "Get out of it!"
That'd be helpful, yeah, for everyone else and my career, yeah.
Well, it's always fun to talk to you, and I appreciate it. And thanks, Johnny, for joining us.
No problem, thank you.
Please welcome and thank you, Johnny Baker of Team Pelfrey and co-founder of Coforce, and, of course, the newest member of the broadcast team, Anders Krohn. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
I want to remind you, my next guest is here. Come on up. I want to remind you that if you are interested in seeing why all these guys and gals like driving Indy cars, do yourself a favor. Go to the Indy Racing Experience where you can get a ride in a two-seater. They will take you out for a ride, and you will absolutely love it. And what you need to do is look on their website, indyracingexperience.com, find a date that works for you, and set it up. And if you can get in on the ride here at Speedway, you mentioned in the promo box when you sign up, put SJ1, and you get a 50% discount. But you can call the office and talk to them about rides and what's available and when. The number is 317-243-7171, and talk to Shonda. Stitches 2. What can you say about that? If you need anything embroidered, whether it's a hat, a shirt, a shoe, a jacket, doesn't matter, whatever it is, Stitches 2 can handle it. They're located off of Gasoline Alley. You can give Fran a call. She loves to talk. Tell her what you got and how you can get it there, and she'll take care of it. The number is 317-271-3444. And if you are a vintage car buff, I highly recommend subscribing to the Vintage Racing Quarterly, and they've now come out with Trans Am Today. They got 2 great magazines, first class all the way. And you'll see some of the cars that you saw running when you were a kid. They're back on the road again. They've been restored, and they're out running. So go to svra.com and subscribe to either or both the Vintage Racing Quarterly or Trans Am Today. Do you need insurance for your car, your home, or you have a commercial building you need help with? VP Insurance can take care of it. Give Mike Pardee a call. He'll help you out. His number is 317-248-0070. He's located at 5004 West 16th Street, again in the beautiful town of Speedway, Indiana. That's VP Insurance, Mike Pardee, 317-248-0070. And if you have a kid 9 years old or older and would like to give him a ride in a two-seater, it can happen. Just they run almost every day when there's nothing going on at the racetrack. And if you mention my name, you will get the picture they take after the race free. And the next event for the SVRA will be in Portland on July 27th through the 30th, this coming weekend. So if you're up in the Portland area and you want to see some grid racing and some good cars, beautiful cars, stop on by. Now my next guest is a gentleman that we have known each other for a grand total of about 37 seconds, I think.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, well, that's what I kind of thought. He's the new member of the IndyCar staff. He is, or Indy Star staff, and he is known as the IndyCar Insider. So we're going to get all the skinny. He's got it all. We're going to find out something more about him. I've been reading what he's done, and I've liked what he's done, so I invited him, and foolishly he said, I'll be here. Please welcome the newest writer for the sports department of the Indy Star, Mr. Jim Ayello. Ayello.
That's right.
I'll get it right eventually.
That was right, thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing well, just came from the track.
Did you?
Yeah, they're testing the 2018 car out there.
You're kidding.
No.
Did anybody else know that? Oh, look at this. I was there. Where the hell were you? I was looking for you. Where were you?
I didn't see you.
I know you did. That's what I said. Now, you didn't know me, so you couldn't hide.
That's true.
But after today, you'll say...
I'll be hiding next time.
Yeah, yeah. First off, you and I have something somewhat in common. You're from West Dundee, Illinois, and
Yeah.
I'm from the lilac capital of the world, Lombard.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow, you're not too far away then.
No, but they asked me to leave, so I did. I figured out.
That same thing happened to me.
How did you get into journalism? Did you go to college and take journalism, or did you just figure you write better than most anybody else?
No, I went to college and took journalism. Actually, I started off going to college for business and realized that I wasn't very good at it.
Welcome to the club.
So I went to community college shortly thereafter, joined the newspaper, figured out that I liked it quite a bit, and went to the University of Missouri, which I was lucky to get into. It's a very good program over there. And learned a lot. So
I have a grandson going there for the exact same thing. He wants to get into journalism.
it's a very good program, and like I said, I learned a ton. Got to cover a lot of different sports out there, and then got an internship at the Indy Star. So that's kind of how everything started.
What is your vast knowledge of IndyCar racing?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, when you come in today, somebody say you want to cover IndyCar, and you say, "What's that?"
That's pretty much what happened.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding.
No.
When you come to Indiana, which I did 3 or 4 years ago, you start to you don't really have much of a choice but to kind of absorb it. I'd always kind of watched, but it was more as my dad kind of was the guy who showed me a lot of sports, and he wasn't a big IndyCar guy growing up, so I kind of saw a lot, but I didn't really start soaking it in until more recently.
Have you found it easy to get information or talk to team owners and team managers and drivers and so forth? Are they hard to approach?
Not at all. No, they've been great. That's one of the best things about covering this beat. I've helped out on the Pacers, helped out on the Colts, done those things with the Indy Star, and this has been the most accessible group that I've encountered. They all want to talk. They all want to help. They know that the media can help them grow the sport for sure. So, yeah, no, most of the time I found it very, very accessible.
I saw Mark Miles today, and I commented to him on the article you wrote, on the interview you had with him, where he talked about the upcoming television negotiations and what they're looking to do. In case some people missed that, tell me a little bit about what you heard, what he said, and what impressed you about what they're doing.
Well, what impressed me most is that he's looking at a big picture. So you're not just talking about the normal players in terms of a TV deal, which should, NBC, ABC, which would be ESPN as well, Fox, those kind of things. And he is talking to those people, but he's also talking to, or looking into, Facebook, Twitter, some of the other online providers that he could maybe get. He didn't get into exactly whether it would be exclusive coverage, so it wouldn't just be on Twitter or just be on Facebook or anything like that, but whether or not they could provide over-the-top coverage as well, so it would be on TV and stream on the internet to grab maybe a different audience or a bigger audience. So Mark Miles is looking into the future for television and for IndyCar, and I think that's a really, really positive thing for the sport.
Well, they stream the practice and qualifying on Facebook now.
Right.
I just discovered that by accident. Trust me. I turn a computer on, and that's by accident usually if it works. But I was surprised to see that, and I got to think that that's a growth. Before, well, you were still probably in diapers. There was a gentleman who was the vice president of production, Buddy McAtee, who was, last time he was a guest on the program, he said, mark my words, in 3 to 5 years, network television will be passé. Will be all internet connected, and it's going that way? Because
It's-
you can watch the internet practice and qualifying on all the events that they're there. The broadcast team is there. I assume you're there.
I'm there.
Okay. So it's going that way, and I guess that's what's going to happen. As you know, kids, because you're a kid, kids, they want it in their hand. They want to watch the race now,
Right.
here, instead of sitting in the grandstand. So I know one of his goals is to get people excited enough they want to come and see it. They watch it and they, wow, let's go. So they go see it when it's in their area.
Absolutely, and attracting, like you said, a youthful audience. I mean, that's one of the things with all motorsports are trying to do. We heard from NASCAR when they were in town. They're trying to. You can see by the concerts they're scheduling and the kind of people they're trying to get out to the venues. They really want to start growing that younger audience. They know they can rely on the parents to bring their sons and daughters, but they also know they have to kind of appeal to those kids as well.
You wrote an article which got some people's attention
It's always good.
concerning the scheduling of races on the west, out in the west.
Yes.
And you weren't very particularly nice, indicating that, and it's true that for the guys to go to Long Beach and go all the way across the country and then come all the way back again, the driver goes home, he sits at home, watches television, plays with the kid a little bit, maybe plays a round of golf, but the crews are on the cars all the time, so they don't get to go home.
Right.
And they have to wear a name tag when they do, so the kids remember who the heck they are. Now, of course, I'm sure as a result of what you wrote, they're going to run both Long Beach and Phoenix back to back. That obviously makes sense.
It does, and I think, like you said, for the crews that driving cross country back and forth to Indy, out to Alabama, and then back and forth to California or Phoenix, it was really, really hard on them. They were spending a ton of time in these cars, and that's not only not fair to them, it's unsafe. I mean, they really are. They're driving. They're spending a lot of time and hours on the road away from their families, and I will say the drivers even. That's a lot of travel for them as well, and they do a lot of sponsorship deals too, and a lot of those are in the Midwest, so they have to do a lot of flying back and forth. It's not easy for anybody, but a lot of the scheduling problem this year came when Phoenix had the Final Four, and so they had to kind of push it back later in the schedule so as not to run into that in Phoenix, and that really created a problem. So thankfully, coming up the next season, they'll be able to kind of do a West Coast swing and keep people in the same area.
It always surprised me that, what can they put in a basketball stadium? 18,000 people?
Yeah, about
And
18,
how
20,
many
yeah.
can they put in the Phoenix International Raceway?
Much more.
Yeah, well, you'd think there'd be more than 18,000 people would be interested, so they have one thing, and the rest of them like to go outside and sit outside and watch race cars go zoom.
Yeah, that's probably, you're not wrong. I mean, you're right. Maybe the race fans would have gone anyway, but I think they were worried about bumping into a major event like that.
Well, I mentioned, again, before your time, when we ran in Texas twice. And the second time they raced there in the season, they raced there twice in the season. The second time was against, and Eddie Gossage swore up and down that Jerry Jones scheduled the game intentionally. It was a preseason game. And he was not happy about it. However, in his defense, Eddie drew 90,000. So
pretty good.
So it can be done.
Yeah.
And if you got something on track that people want to see, they'll be there.
And Eddie's one of the best at bringing in
Oh,
people.
yeah. What do your observation of IndyCar? Do you think it's on the right track? Do you think they're growing the sport correctly? Do you think that the marketing and the PR people are doing the job that needs to be done to attract attention and keep your interest so you write good stories?
That's a big, big question. Well, we'll start with what I saw today. I really like the direction the car is headed. It's sleeker. It looks faster. They've shortened the wing in the back so that you can kind of see these really, really big wheels, and it just looks like an Indy car. It looks like some of the cars that fans grew up seeing in the 90s and even before that. So that's really nice, and I think that's heading in the right direction. It appeals both to, I think, older fans who are staying with the sport and younger fans because the car just looks better. Yeah, and as far as marketing, I think especially at IMS, I will say that they've done. Doug Bowles and his staff has done a great job of trying to appeal both to the history and to appeal to this town in Indianapolis and putting it all across the state and saying this is a historic track. It's been here for 108 years now, and you need to come out and see it. But then also saying, hey, kids 13 and under get in for free, and happy to have you here. And I think that's the best way. I think that's, for me, when I grew up, a fan of the things that I did. I'm a Chicago White Sox fan.
Me too.
Really?
And there's two of us in the state, I think.
That's rare, but that's because I believe my dad took me to White Sox games very often as a kid. So I think the more accessible that they make the track, and that goes across country. So not just Doug Bowles at IMS, but all the other tracks. The more accessible they make it to young kids, I think the more young fans you'll see starting to come out.
Well, again, this was before your time, but it was reported that as hard as Burger King is trying, they'll never ever catch McDonald's. It doesn't matter, because once you get, and where do people go generally? I mean, let's go to McDonald's. And once you get them, you got them. It doesn't matter. Burger King give away the show. They won't go. And I think the same thing here. The problem that I see, one of them, is a kid can't work on a car anymore.
Okay.
I mean, in fact, most of the school teachers that I've talked to, I said, they have auto shop? No. Do you have machine shop? No. Do you have wood shop? No. If you want to tune up a car, you pull a computer chip out and put another one in. You can't adjust the sparks. You can't do anything. You can't adjust. So the interest in cars, I think, is waning very quickly. That,
and it's a tough sport to get into, to participate in it, both as a driver or an owner. I mean, not an owner, but it's just expensive. It's it's much more expensive than most other sports, even than, baseball. You got $200 or $300 bats, but this, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars just to drive go-karts, just to get in it in the beginning. So you really have to either find some money, come from money. It's hard to get into it. There are some guys who have managed to do it, but it's getting harder and harder. It's getting more and more expensive.
Well, when I started, again, probably 30 years before you ever were born, the teams sold the sponsorship, and then they hired the drivers. Some of that's starting to come back a little bit. I mean, you can bet your bippy that Ayello has never gone out and sold anything. He gets asked to make appearances, or to dance. But most of these guys, the heavyweights, don't have to go out and sell themselves, but the young kids do. And as we were talking with Anders about that, you've got to brand yourself, and you have to step forward and say, here's who I am and what I've done and what I can do for you. And I think once they get that through their head, and as I said, I don't know if you've read Ken Unger's book. If you haven't, you need to read it. It's how to brand yourself and what drivers need. You find it interesting, I think. What's your next project? Are you travel the whole series?
I do. I travel the whole series. So I'll be at Mid-Ohio this week.
You followed, you took the chair that Kurt Cavan got up out of and became vice president of communications at IndyCar.
Yeah,
and
big shoes.
You worked with him a little bit?
Very much, very much. He's been instrumental in kind of the first few races, especially showing me around, introducing me to people. He has to do his own job and stay neutral, of course, but he has an interest. He's in communication, so he wants me to do well, and he also still cares about the Indianapolis Star, so he wants to see that succeed as well. So he's been very, very helpful in pointing me in the right directions on certain things and letting me know. I can always bounce ideas off of him and say, am I heading in the right direction on this story, or is this something you might have done? And he can say, he won't necessarily tell me how to do it, but he'll say, yeah, no, you need to do it this way, or you need to talk to that person, and that's what I would have done. So that's been very helpful for me to have around.
It's funny that he would have a little passion in his heart for the Star since he was only there. What about almost 30 years?
Yeah. Can you imagine?
So, seeing a check that said the Indianapolis Star on it for so many years, you kind of get hooked to it.
Not too much different with IndyCar and the Indy Star. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It's got he sees the Indy and he's all set. Have you had any problem, although you said not really, but any problems with approaching somebody with a question or an idea about something and they didn't want to talk to you? Or is everybody pretty well open?
No, I mean, definitely had some problems with that. I think recently we've seen some issues with the Ayello Castroneves. It's just not him personally. He's a great guy, but he and Team Penske are very kind of hush-hush about his future right now. And it's been interesting to kind of monitor because fans obviously love him, and he's a great driver. He's been showing this year that he's still very talented. He just won at Iowa and had a great car at Toronto, and definitely could have won that race if the caution hadn't kind of gone against him. But he's an older guy. We saw what happened to Juan Pablo Montoya last year, and so they're kind of in this in-between thing right now. So yeah, I mean, of course, everybody's going to have their secrets that they don't want to share with the media. So yeah, no, it's not always free and easy, and everybody's just telling you anything.
Now, don't tell anybody this, but I can think quickly off the top of my head, two guys that drove. I think Dick Simon was 54, 55, and he retired, and AJ was right behind him, not even a year, I don't think. So Ayello still got 10 years to go if he wants. I don't know why people are saying, well, you're 42 years old, so?
I don't know why they seem, like I said, and I don't, has anybody seen any drop-off from him this year? I don't think so.
Not really.
Yeah.
No. I don't think he can dance as good as he could.
Probably not, but that's what they have Hinchcliffe for.
Yeah. Yeah, so So what do you think about your new position? Is this something that you had an idea? Did you want to go to motorsports, or did it just happen, things fell into place and you got asked?
A little bit of both. I mean, having seen what Kurt built over his time over there, I really respected that, and I really like the idea. There's some really loyal fans here in Indiana, and it's been great. I've heard from a lot of people send me emails and things like that saying, hey, you had big shoes to fill and good luck. And a lot of emails recently saying you're doing a great job. I've also had a few emails telling me I'm doing a terrible job, so that's but I like to hear from those people because they usually tell me, they point me in the right direction. But no, it's been a lot of fun, and I really have enjoyed it, and it's been a great opportunity at the Indy Star. It's a place a lot of people go for their motorsports coverage, and I've really enjoyed kind of being able to engage fans.
Something that bothers me a little bit about the sports coverage is pretty good, except for one thing.
Okay.
NHRA.
Yeah.
Half the teams are here. You read nothing. In fact, sometimes it's not even in the paper what they did qualifying and what happened. Can you do that when the off season, or can you?
They're going to have me covering Colts in the off season, I think, right now. So
suggest to them that John Force has a team here. You know, all these teams that are here in this area in Brownsburg primarily, and nobody writes anything. I mean, haven't they got somebody that goes and gets coffee a lot, and you say, look, instead of coffee, write about the NHRA.
I definitely be a good idea, but as you've known, a lot of sports staffs are kind of thinning out a little bit recently. A lot of people have gone through layoffs, so our staff isn't massive. So we're getting to as much as we can. I like to try to cover IndyCar as in depth as possible, and that leaves me with.
That's why you're the IndyCar insider. It'd be kind of silly to be the insider and you're outside going over to Brownsburg.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think it would be a great idea, but we don't cover. We don't cover the Indianapolis Indians as much as I think we should, and some other sports, or as much as I'd like us to, for sure. But there's just a few other things around here that we just unfortunately don't have the manpower for.
And it seems to me that the big thing now we like to sit down and hold a newspaper in my hand.
Yeah.
But they keep telling me, it's all online. I don't want to look online. I don't want to sit in front of. I spend enough time there because most of the time it doesn't work. Trying to utilize it, and I'm not into that. But you know, so why are they cutting back the staff? I mean, you still got to write something, even if it's online.
Yeah, no, it's just been a lot of the print advertising doesn't make as much money as it used to, and online advertising doesn't really make any money. So it's been newspapers have kind of found themselves between a rock and a hard place right now.
Well, I think they ought to sell it to Jeff Bezos, the guy that owns Amazon.
That'd be great. If he's listening and wants to purchase the Indy Star, I'm sure we'd listen to that.
Yeah, but well, he owns the Washington Post, I think it is, or whatever it is.
If he wants to keep coming out west, that's fine with us.
Sell him some advertising, for Pete's sake. Oh, well, I have not sent you any emails yet, so none of the negative ones were from me.
No.
And
feel free, though.
I'm not a negative kind of person. If you can't say anything, there is a writer. Well, except for you never call back. You don't answer your phone. Otherwise, but there is a writer that you hang around with that does a negative, and I don't want to get in his way. I'll let him have that.
Okay.
So, he's safe. But I've enjoyed reading what you've done. I think you've done a nice job. I thought that interview you did with Mark and the coverage you gave it, the story you wrote was excellent.
Thank you very much.
Very good story, and look forward to more of it.
I'm hoping to give more of it. Well, it should be a really exciting end of the season here with Dixon and all the Penske guys still fighting for the championship. So it should be a lot of fun.
Oh, wait a minute. Don't forget Ray Hall. Come on.
Ray Hall's. You're right. And he's in sixth, and he's right there. And
it's not that far out.
No, and he needs a good race this week in his home state of Ohio here, and I think he can. Track. Yeah.
And he won there. Was it last year or the year before?
Ago.
Yeah,
2 years ago. Yeah, and he's been on a roll recently. That doubleheader sweep in Detroit was about one of the most impressive things we've seen this year for sure.
So, is there any track that you go out to you said, "Geez, if we don't come back here next year, I won't be unhappy"? Ooh. Other than Detroit.
Oh man, the tracks. No, okay. Let me try to go through it. I don't want to bash any tracks, but can I tell you the ones I like a lot?
Sure.
I loved going out to Long Beach. It was California, I know, and it was I know, yeah, predictable, but it was the atmosphere around there was great. There were so many IndyCar fans in there, and that not just on race day, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They were all there all the time. Yeah, huge fans. I mean, people wearing Hinchcliffe stuff. They love Mountain California now for the dancing. So it was a lot of fun there.
And they could run mice pulling little carts around, and they draw a crowd. It's been there for 35 years.
Yeah.
So
Well, the other one, I
done well.
don't want to go back to Texas if it was going to be like that again, though. That was a little crazy.
Well,
I don't want to see
you guys
anybody get
got to
hurt.
wake up. You got to pay attention. And
It was fun, but it was a little scary.
yeah, well, wait until you see Pocono.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing.
The tricky triangle. I was out there for the very first race they had, and they hadn't even finished the track yet, and it was quite interesting when the guys got there. The facility, and it's big and it's quick.
Yeah.
So that was fun, and then I think Phoenix, when they used to run with the Silver Crown cars, Copper World Classic, they ran the two out there. They used to pack the place.
Yeah.
And IndyCar decided for some inexplicable reason we're going to change the date, and the whole thing went.
Yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't a great race there. So
Well.
it's a good venue, though.
Oh, yeah, it's nice, and Gateway is going to be interesting because they are spending a boatload of money, and so they are at Phoenix as well, because they want that race really bad. They really want it. And people that I know down there say we know they're coming already. We've a lot of talk. But something that does disturb me about Pocono, for instance, a friend of mine from out there called and said, "Boy, do we know the Formula E was in town in New York? Holy Toledo!" So what do you hear about Pocono? Nothing.
Huh.
Well, it's hard to tell people what you're doing, get them to show up if you don't tell them you're there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the story is, but
Well, hopefully, we'll see some people at that track.
well, let me know how the crowd is. Give me a buzz. Let me know.
Absolutely.
I thank you for accepting my last-minute invitation to come here. I was surprised when you said, "Sure, I'll be there." What are we going to talk about? I said, we can talk about milkshakes or something.
Well, I don't know if you want to talk about the Brickyard or IndyCar or.
Well, all right. What did you think of the Brickyard?
Is that what everybody else thinks too? Okay, good, because that's what I wrote, and I got in a lot of trouble. I was not a big fan of what happened at the Brickyard. It was more demolition derby than racing, and that wasn't my favorite. That wasn't my favorite race, but
But yeah, and you listen to the announcers screaming as they're coming down. Okay, scream about what?
I don't know. They just kept trying to restart, crash, and then restart and crash, and then restart, crash, and it was just. I mean, the first half of the race was just Kyle Busch running away with things.
Follow the leader.
They had a great race on Saturday. I don't know who watched the Xfinity race, but they did a really good job with that aero package there. And I really think if they apply that to the Cup Series next year, we could have some really great racing during the Brickyard again. And I'm hoping that's what they decide to do.
Well, probably wake up one of them and say, "There's an idea."
Yeah.
But I don't know. Changing it to September so it's cooler is fine.
Yeah.
But if you start at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you have a couple of yellows. Now it's dark. You're going to have to put headlights on to finish the race.
I can't tell you how many fans ask me, why isn't this race on Saturday? And I said, I don't know, because it's nice if you have rain problems, you can push it to Sunday, gives you a little extra buffer day. I talk to fans from Detroit, from Minneapolis, from a bunch of different places that have to travel back and go to work the next day. So this race was really tough on them, and they didn't get to see much racing for a while there.
Yeah, and the other one that's got that problem, and they're going to change it in 19, is Iowa.
Yeah.
They used to run Saturday night, pack the place. Sunday evening, it's not there.
I'm a big fan of the Saturday races. If they move more, I'd be okay with it.
Especially at night. It's to keep you out of the bars. I mean, out of the pretzel factories. All right. Well, I don't know. NASCAR could not run in Phoenix, so they changed the track. They banked it more.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think IndyCar is quite as good as it used to be. And some other track they changed because NASCAR had a problem with it. I certainly hope they don't talk them into banking the Speedway. I don't think they will.
No, but they're working on for Phoenix. Hopefully the race is a little better. These new cars, from what Juan Pablo Montoya and Oriol Servia were saying today, is that it's going to be a lot less dirty air to follow, and there's going to be a lot more passing, and it should be able to drive a little closer. So Phoenix should be a little bit more interesting of a race next year, hopefully.
Well, I hope I can see it.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Okay. I appreciate you taking the time. I'm sure you got to get back and write about something if you haven't already finished your story on today.
I finished, so I'm happy to be here.
I see. Well, I thank you, and I enjoy reading it, and I hope you continue to grow, and we'll keep following you.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate it. This was fun.
I hope you read him. Of course you do. He's the IndyCar Insider, the newest member of the IndyCar racing staff. Great to have him here, Jim Ayello. Now, I have a couple of guests I talked to. One is available. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Whether I can get here next Tuesday night or not, I'm not sure. However, I do have somebody who will sit in for me. I won't tell you who it is because you'll probably want me to never come back. So I'm not going to tell you. But to keep up with what's going on and who the guests are, as I say, go to autosportradio.com and hit the Auto Racing Show tab, and you'll see who the guests are. When I get them, I'll put them up. Lord knows I won't be going anywhere for the next few days, so I'll have time to get on a computer, I hope. I want to thank everybody, Anders and Johnny and Jim, Jim for being here. And thank everybody for watching, for listening, and for being in front of us. I hope to see you next week, but there will be a program, however, and I want to again thank my IT guy over here. In fact, we're working on, and he may have picked the program up and put it on Facebook yet today, maybe. It's done? Oh, it's on Facebook. Where? Autosportradio.com. That's on Twitter. Well, I don't know how to get to that. But anyway, we're on Facebook and Twitter now, and pretty soon we'll stream them live. So I want to thank him for helping me in my physical problem. We'll get that straightened out. So until next week, I want to thank everybody for being here. Look for you then. Hopefully Howdy can stay awake until then and be back next week. Until then, thanks for being here. Thanks for fun. See you next week.